Hi, my name is Lori Gabriel. I'm a professional screenwriter and I direct short movies as well. Also been a producer, first assistant director, craft services, production assistant, all kinds of crew positions on various productions as well as my own productions. Today we're doing a TV show. We're reviewing TV shows, and it's going to be on podcasts as well as YouTube. So we wanted to, this is a good way for us to introduce ourselves. We're going to be focusing on the show Wednesday and starting off with the first web episode. I mean, not web episode, first TV show we're going to be giving feedback on. And in the form of the previous crew positions we've had.
My name is Carell Taylor, and I have experience in directing, editing, and music production. I have worked on short shows. I've also done music videos, and I have produced songs for various artists and myself as well.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, Carl and I have known each other since like 2012. We started working together in 2014. We've done web series together, both co-wrote and I directed, and he did camera and editing. And we had other people on the crew too. But we did 4 episodes of that, and we turned our now TV pilot that we wrote together. It's based on those web episodes, the early ones. And then I've also directed short movies that we both worked on together. So we've been working together on projects for many years. And so we wanted to get to know everybody and have them get to know us. And hopefully someday we'll be a household name and you'll be able to watch our show on one of the streaming services. So, and we'll talk more about our show after, we've established ourselves in the show. This show. Okay. So, like I said, we're going to talk about the show Wednesday, and we're giving our feedback about it, a review based on what it's like if we were in the room with a screenwriter. What do you think their decisions would be and why? I'm going to ask Carell the first question. So, before I get into that, I'm going to just give a brief explanation of what I'm talking about in the question. So, there's a term called the hook, and what that means is it grabs you into the story, and it's usually within the first 5 pages. It's done this way because most audiences now have a shorter attention span, and so it requires the writer to jolt the audience into the script and into the show. Carell, what would you say is the hook and why, based on if you were one of those crew positions?
Well, in the pilot of Wednesday, the hook is when Wednesday is walking to the swimming pool to release the 2 bags of piranhas to attack the kids in the pool. And I would say the reason why is because just that moment is so intense. As we know, she's doing this to defend her brother, but the fact that she casually walks in through the school into the pool and releases these piranhas to attack and possibly kill these kids, that this girl isn't playing around.
Yeah. So yeah, just to piggyback on that, it's clear that we know who Wednesday is based on this hook because it's violent. And so we know that she's not afraid to use violence to get her way, and she will use it to protect her brother. And nobody else can pick on Pugsley except for her. And that is the motivation for her going into the pool with bags of piranhas. And I always thought that was very strange that no school officials, no students, nobody stopped her before this. So to me, that means just don't mess with her because she's going to get her own way and you're in trouble if you cross her. And I also she just stood there and watched. So I don't know if that's to make sure that the kids got hurt, or just because she wanted to watch the violence happening. But she's not this sweet, cuddly little character that's that we can all root for at the beginning. She's pretty violent, and it's, even though it could be considered justified what she did because they did put Pugsley in the locker, she goes to extremes. So it's setting up this whole idea that she can take care of herself, which I think is a good way to introduce the hook, is to also show what kind of character Wednesday has.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the main reasons why they kind of hold on that shot with the close up of her as she's watching them, run in fear is almost to like display like her psychopathic tendencies. She smiles as she watches them being eaten and bitten by the piranhas. So she's definitely enjoying the moment. She's one that wants to. She doesn't want to just release these piranhas and go about her business. She wanted to enjoy this vengeance and this violence. And so I think that's why she stuck around.
Yeah, I think this scene works really well as a hook because you're not expecting somebody to put in piranhas into a school gymnasium where kids are swimming. So it definitely grabs my attention. But it also is a throwback to the original TV series and the movies of Wednesday when she used violence all the time against her brother. And she would try to shock him, throw him off buildings. She was always caught before that happened, but she was always disappointed that she wasn't allowed to keep doing those things. So I think this is a great tool for an emotional arc. You want your character to start off being one way, having a lot of flaws, like not caring that these kids might die if she unleashes these piranhas. But so towards the end, she has empathy. What do you think editor or the screenwriter or the director had in mind when it came to editing that hook and getting it to taking raw footage and as if you're the editor and making it into that hook?
The very first shot that you see in that scene is the pool. Before you see her or anything, you see the pool first. You see the kids splashing, playing in the water, having a good time. So you see this normal environment, a normal moment, just kids living their life, a regular day in school. And then that's when you start seeing these close-up shots. Like you see her head, you see the back of her, and it's not until they engage in conversation when you really see her come into the shot. And that's when they criticize her, get out of here. Oh, that's Pigsley, sis. They call him Pigsley instead of Pugsley. And then that's when she engages, and that's when we really see her, and she comes into the light of the shot. And just before she releases the piranhas, I think it was edited brilliantly. It wasn't too quick, and they also didn't hold on things too long. Because she was there to take care of business, so they kind of get you right to it. They can come from like a darker close-ups to getting a wider shot. You see more color. And then even with the pool, when the piranhas are attacking, you get the bright reds and stuff when they start biting on the kids. So I mean, I thought it was really good how it was cut together, even
Okay.
down to the end when we close off with her smile at the end of the entire scene.
I also think like if I was the editor or if I was in the room with the editor, I think the reason they chose those shots is because they wanted to like not only again build attention and make it seem like she's up to so no good, but what could it possibly be? The mystery of it. But I also think they chose like to cut her up like that to show like the movement and quicken the pace of the walk, so it's not this long drawn out walk up to the pool. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's probably what the editor had in mind, to quicken the pace up and make it seem like she's on a mission.
When she first finds Pugsley in the locker and she releases him from being tied up, there's something that she says to him that I think explains how she was able to walk into the pool and just release those piranhas and pretty much not even care about it. And what did she say to him? Sorry, I have it in my notes. Oh, when she frees him and he's whining, he's like, "Oh, I don't know who it was," and he's pretty much crying. And she tells him, she said, "Emotion equals weakness," and right there kind of carries on with who her character is throughout the series. But also it explains that moment of releasing the piranhas, like you said, that's why it's the hook. Because anybody else, you would think like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that. Like don't they feel bad about it, or don't they any of these things? But I mean, she already says when she tells Pugsley, like, emotion equals weakness. She has no emotion for these kids.
Right.
You hurt my brother, I'm gonna hurt you, and
Right.
that's that.
Yeah, and that's actually her character flaw, is her a belief that emotion equals weakness. So,
Yes.
that's something that hopefully a good writer will, like, over the course of a series, will put the main character in situations where that gets tested, and
Hmm.
then she comes to the realization that her thinking or her feeling was uh, not in her best interest. How did the director show the audience Wednesday's personality, like her skills and her flaws, in those first few scenes?
One of her flaws is thinking that emotion is a weakness, therefore burying her emotions and not ever putting them on the forefront, which is a weakness. But as well as some of her skills, we see her vision when she sees who actually terrorized her little brother. That's the first time we see her have a vision. So that's a skill that she will have. Um, Also, like, learning about her character, the protectiveness. No one's gonna mess with, my brother. She's a protector. She also is very independent. We see that also in the first few scenes. So we get a lot of exactly who she is just up to the pool.
Yeah, so here's what I put down. Like, in addition to the pool scene where we show her independence, like we've said multiple times now, um, she's somebody that she's good at protecting herself as well. She's good, and then outside of the pool scene, it's like she's good at fencing, she's good at playing darts, she's good at she has good grades, or she got good grades. Um, she's like she can fix an espresso machine without really, like, and she just needs a few tools and she can get it working within a few minutes. Something that um the character Tyler has not been able to do. And she just walks in and does it. So
Hmm.
I do think it's pretty funny that the reason why she doesn't wear the school uniform is because she's allergic to color.
Please excuse Wednesday. She's allergic to color.
So she has one maid that's black and white. Like, I'm
Yes.
not sure, like, if that's supposed to be just a funny joke within the family, like she's not really allergic to it, or they're trying to say that the whole family is allergic to color and that's a real thing. I'm not sure.
I think it's more so of a they prefer not to wear colorful things. Like, I mean, it kind of goes with their personality and like the way of life. So almost like a cultural uniform or whatnot. And so I think it's just like an inside joke to the family. That's probably what they tell anyone that would ask the question. Oh, we're allergic to color. Because that's just not something they want to wear. But I don't think they're actually allergic. I
Yeah.
think she could wear some color and she'd be fine. She
Right.
just probably wouldn't feel good wearing it.
Yeah. Something that also, yeah, that's true. Something also is in my notes is that one of her other flaws is her sarcasm. She uses it as a shield so people don't get close to her and to put them off. So she always has these one-liners that are just like, they're kind of cryptic, but are also meant to, like, shut the other person up. So, what do you think the screenwriter had in mind? Like, to how do you think that person was able to present her flaws and skills? Like, what do you think the thought process it was in introducing those things?
Well, I think they really had to think of what how could they show these things, these flaws or these skills that she has, and what instances or situations they can put her in to show these things. Like you said, with the espresso machine, we already know that that's going to be a location that she needs to go to, and this is a character that is going to help her throughout the series. Um, it's a coffee shop. Okay, well, we need to show that she's intelligent. We'll have this espresso machine have issues. She's going to fix it right up like it's no problem. Okay, obviously that takes some intelligence. Um, Her craftiness. Just to be able to, like you said, it. Who would let someone walk through a school with a bag full of piranhas? Like, there's something to be said about her character that she's even able to do that. Like, I'm pretty sure she didn't just walk through the front door and walk past the principal. Hey, I'm just going to the pool. You know, like she was probably knew where to go and how to get there with the least amount of, you know, of
Tension.
issues. Yeah, exactly. So, I think it was they showed it very well with the situations they put her in and how she handled those situations.
Right. Yeah, I think the screenwriter and director worked really closely and really sharpening the script so that you can see really clearly who she is and that she's quite capable of fixing problems on her own, doesn't need help. So she's clearly going to be able to deal with anything that comes her way. There are several instances of symbolism in the first episode. What do you think the dead vultures falling from the sky as the Adams family makes their way to Nevermore means?
So initially, I had to go back to that scene a couple times, and I initially wasn't sure why that was happening in the scene, what was going on with the vultures, if it was foreshadowing for what's to come. I wasn't sure, so I kind of figured out what I thought it was telling me within the scene. And within the scene, she is sitting in the car with her parents. She just got expelled from that school for the piranhas, and they're heading to Nevermore. And she doesn't want to go there. Obviously, what we see is her parents. They're all over each other, kissing and hugging, singing to each other, and she's just disgusted the entire time watching this. And it's funny how they position her because her brother is in the front seat with the driver, and so he's kind of they're in their own world. She's in the back seat and she's positioned right in front of her parents. Just sitting there like she's at the theater. And so she's watching them. She's disgusted. They have a little bit of conversation. She's not interested. Doesn't even want to talk to them. But the birds hit the car window, and at the moment that the birds had hit that, her parents are doing their kiss thing. Her eyes are closed when those birds hit the window. So to me, I felt like it was how she was feeling. Like she just wanted to die. She didn't want to be there. She was upset she's being forced to go to this school. She's watching her parents being all lovey-dovey, and she just wishes she wasn't even in the car. And like it'd be better off if she was just dead. And that's how I felt that with the birds, that was symbolizing how she was feeling.
Okay. Yeah, I took it a little differently than that's how she's feeling in the moment, and she just wants to die, and therefore the birds falling and dying is how she's feeling. I took it more like the birds are like foreshadowing of what's gonna come when she goes to Nevermore, like all the danger she's gonna be in, and it's gonna like be a life and death struggle for her. And there's like a lot of things that she's are out of her control and those kind of things. Yeah. And also because as we learn fairly quickly, there's a monster that's going around killing things and people. So, and how is she going to be able to like get the upper hand? So it's like this, being when you see vultures falling from the sky, you're probably going to be very scared and not sure what's going on and wonder why it's happening. So, like all those experiences and feelings, I think that's what Wednesday goes through similarly, but she just doesn't express it because, again, emotion is weakness. As a screenwriter or a director, what do you think the writer intended to establish with Morticia Gomez and Wednesday in the car? Like, for example, it could be like family tension, their opposition towards each other, foreshadowing, anything like that.
I To explain this one, just to reiterate, the emotion is weakness. I think what that scene was showing why Wednesday doesn't necessarily have any true connection with her mother more so, but just her parents in general. But because she looks at her mother, she looks she looks at her mother as in her mother wants her to be a reflection of her. She wants to be the furthest thing from that because I think she looks at her mother as weak. Her mother displays emotion all the time with her father. Her mother's very loving with the father. Her mother made friends. Her mother was popular at school. she doesn't want any of those things because she thinks that's basically like the kids she was already in school with, a follower, the popular one, just fitting in with everyone, and that's not what she's about. She's, like you said, she's very independent. She wants to set her own path, and I think that's kind of what was being shown in that scene, showing how much disdain she had for her mother, looking at her as a newer version of her or whatnot. You know, she's trying to make me like her, and so that's what she feels about them sending her to Nevermore. They're just trying to make her life better and give her more options in her future. They're caring for her. She doesn't see it that way. And so I think that's what that whole conversation in the car was about. And she didn't even want to speak to them. She doesn't want to hear that. She doesn't believe that.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. I think as a screenwriter, what they were trying to imply was that she doesn't have an easy relationship with her mom because of course, she believes that her mom is overly emotional and tries too hard, and she doesn't give Wednesday enough freedom to be herself, and and she also probably Wednesday thinks that her mom is trying to control her life, like sending her to this horrible school that she never asked to go to. So I think there's a lot of like tension between the two of them because of that, and because Wednesday just would rather like figure things out on her own and not have like this person hovering over her. So I think that's what that car ride was establishing really clearly on, that she's just like she's over her mom's meddling, which I think that's how Wednesday sees it. Her mom is just trying to connect with her daughter, and is not having any success and doesn't know another way to try to connect with her. The dad just seems like he just goes with the flow pretty much in that car ride. He's nothing's really phases him. And he really actually admires his daughter for all the skills and traits that she does show. So I think that's why their relationship is a lot better, because he's not trying to mold her into a mini him. Like I think the mom would rather have wants to be more like her. So we're gonna get into the hitchhiker scene. So real quick. So what about those scenes worked and what didn't work? If you were in the room with a screenwriter and the director, what do you think their thought process was in how to get it to work?
To me, it felt like that scene was just they wanted something quirky to go in the pilot. You know, maybe for nostalgic reasons. I'm not sure, but it felt like they just wanted a quirky moment in there. The scene was fun. I'll say that it was a fun scene. It wasn't something that I felt was super necessary, but I did like the lady that drops him off. She was great. They even have the moment where she turns and she talks directly to the camera, because he's like getting his bag out the bag, and so like I guess they're playing it off like she's looking in the side mirror to like look at his direction, but she was definitely looking right at the camera. But so you had that moment where she's talking to the audience, like, I don't know about Nevermore, you might want to be careful, So basically, like telling the audience, like, hey, you're along for get ready for a ride, basically. So I thought it was, like I said, I thought it was a fun scene. I can't vouch for the relevance of the scene. I have no idea why this person got dropped off there, or why he chose to be dropped off there, why he chose that location. I also had a question too. When I went back and watched it again, he tells her that she tells him to watch out, Nevermore, there's monsters and stuff. And he says, oh yeah, my camp counselor, he was a werewolf. He was a pretty cool guy. And so I'm just like thinking, like, so is this guy a monster too? Like, what do you mean your counselor was a werewolf? Like,
Well, that's what I think that's what red liquid was for, to show us that he was. Yeah.
And if he was, then it was like, okay, I need more than that, because that's what I was super curious, because I remember we talked about the red liquid, and I, like I said, I went back and watched it again, and I heard him say that, and I'm just like, wait, what kind of camp did you go to? Your counselor was a werewolf, so are you a monster? And if you're a monster, like, were you checking out the area because you want to attend the school as well, or you wanted to be a teacher there, or like, or you just wanted to maybe run into some monsters? Like, I have no idea of why we were there, why he went into the woods, why he was attacked. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Everything was a mystery that we never get an answer to. So, but it was a fun scene.
Yeah, I think, yeah, so just to piggyback on that and to include, like, if I was in the room with the screenwriter, some of the questions would be like, what was that just for comedy's sake to show like the trip to Nevermore with the hitchhiker in there and do the Pee Wee Herman's Great Adventure scene with large Marge. She's the truck driver that picks him up when he's hitchhiking, Pee Wee Herman. And she turns around and her eyes are bulging out of the sockets. And I think I'm assuming that's where they got it from, is to make it really funny. And then also like cryptic because this kid is choosing to go to a park right next to this creepy school. And he has a relative that's probably a werewolf. So he feels safe going there, but then he gets attacked. And I think that's like trying to imply that you may feel safe at school, but you're not. I think they were going for that, but again, I agree with you. Like they should have shortened it and just showed the kid at the park and then upped up and then really showed us that he is a student there or that he has some connection to Nevermore. A reason to be going to this specific park. Okay, so Carl, I totally agree with the hitchhiker scene. I think that if you just skipped over that car ride to Nevermore and just went for the kid sitting on the log and drinking his red juice and looking out into looking towards at Nevermore, that would be fine. But I do think, of course, that they do need to amp up why he's there, what's his significance, and then bring him back in the story. So, if he died, or, spoiler alert, if he didn't die, we need to know what his connection is to the school. Like, why is he important to this? If you're going to kill him off, we need to know why he was important. Because otherwise, it's like there's no reason for him to be in the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
What is Wednesday's goal? And what are those obstacles that she has that are preventing her from achieving it?
Well, her goal is to get out of that school, to not be at Nevermore anymore. And some of her obstacles would be Principal Williams, who is Williams, right? Or Weems?
Weems. Yeah.
Weems, Principal Weems, who obviously is wouldn't say good friend of her mother's, but an old acquaintance of her mother's.
Roomies.
Who, she doesn't want, a student running away out of her school. Obviously, she's proud of her school. So she's an obstacle, as well as her counselor is an obstacle, as well as
Why is her counselor?
Her mother.
So how are these people her obstacle?
Well, her mother is an obstacle because her mother knows that she wants to and will try to run away. So she is an obstacle because she's doing everything in her power by alerting all the close family members. She tells her when she leaves her, I let everyone in the family know. You come to their doorstep, they will report to me. So she's covering all her bases, so she'll have nowhere to go. The principal, obviously, because she's the principal, she's keeping an eye on her, like, following her around or having other people keep an eye on her, as well as the counselor who works for the principal. So all of them are just kind of working together to keep an eye on Wednesday and make sure that she stays put. And I think her only accomplices, people that are helping her, would be Thing and Tyler. Tyler with being the person that will give her a ride, and Thing because he's going to do what she tells him because nobody messes with Wednesday.
Yeah, and also because he's just a hand. So
yeah, he's just a hand, and she'll lock him in a drawer. So
yeah, I think those are great examples of people that are in her way. I think her other obstacles are her personality. She's not really easy person to get along with, and she often people feel threatened by her. So you have the kids from the normal school, they for some reason they bully her and they get in fights with her, and then she has to she can't just go straight to like, I'm gonna get out of the school right now and bye, pack her bags
Yeah.
and leave. There's all these things that are in her way. And I think also she's not gonna just be allowed to just stroll out of the school. Like you said, there's
No.
people watching her, but there's also like she doesn't have a car. She doesn't, I don't think at this
She
point
doesn't
she
have a phone.
has a phone. Yeah, no cell phone. There's probably no Uber that's going to come all the way out there and pick her up, and she doesn't have a place to go. So those are all obstacles.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think she has the finances as well.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she doesn't. She's pretty, and her mother says it too as well. When she's leaving, she tells her, you're a brilliant person. It's not verbatim, but she tells her like you're brilliant, but sometimes you get in your own way, and that's like you saying that she is her own obstacle. She gets in her own way because of how she carries herself at times, and how she socializes or communicates with others. Very sarcastic, very dark,
Antisocial.
morbid, edgy, and so it's like those personalities aren't personalities that make people want to jump out and help you.
Right.
So
Yeah, she is in her own way. And also because she thinks she's right all the time. She's and it takes, and then she's very prone to violence, as we see with the piranha. So it's really not somebody you'd be like, oh, like I feel like I need to help this person. So they're not even thinking that way. If she was into trouble, they'd
mhm.
probably be thinking she's just capable of figuring it out on her own. And so, and nobody's really thinking that she's gonna like break out of the school. Um,
Yeah. In the pilot, how do you feel about Xavier? Their interactions.
I think in the pilot, I like that he's just focused on doing wall paintings and drawings, and he just kind of looks at her from afar. I think that's a good approach to do it. So he's like, because we learned pretty quickly that he knew her when they were in grade school, and she saved his life, and so he felt like he owed her. I think keeping that distance really helped shape that character to be like, oh, like I already suspect that there's something wrong with this kid because he's in the shadows. But at the same time, like he's an artist, that's pretty cool. I want to know like what is his ability because all these kids have abilities. So I think leaving more information out helped that character at the beginning. Um,
Okay.
I don't really. It's hard for me to answer this without going into all the other episodes. Because I do think, like, I know that the Jenna Ortega, who plays Wednesday, had said this. She doesn't want any more love triangles in the show, which I totally agree with because they didn't really. It's like they did the reversal, like when the woman is just on the show to be the love interest, and there's no other story about her, nothing about her, like she doesn't have any goals of her on her own, and except to be in this relationship, and that's what they did with Xavier. Um, he just really just was existing to be the one that was pursuing Wednesday. At least it felt like that to me.
I need more from his character, but I'm interested in his character. I'll say that I'm
Huh?
interested to know more about his character. Knowing that they did have an interaction when they were young, and then seeing him now and kind of like googly eyed over her and very protective over her, which I understand the protectiveness. She saved his life as a kid, so he wants to make sure he can do whatever he can to make sure she's okay.
Yeah, I would like. I mean, I think his character is interesting in the beginning. I was getting tired of him just showing up and rescuing the damsel in distress kind of thing. It just was getting on my nerves, and I didn't like that he just shows up out of thin air, and it didn't feel believable. It didn't feel like realistic.
I
So
think what makes it so much harder to swallow is because Wednesday doesn't come across, nor is she the type of character that needs that.
right.
So it almost felt like an annoyance more than anything. Yeah, it's like, yeah, he has a good heart.
Well,
He's doing this because he wants to help, but she doesn't need it. So it's
well, the reason why it's annoying for me is because that's what women are portrayed as, is always needing help. And that's the part that irritated me. Not that Wednesday is capable on her own and doesn't need any help. It's
mhm.
just this whole kind of misogyny undertone that just really wasn't working for me. What do you think are Wednesday's visions about? Um, are they a convenient way to show exposition? And I'm just gonna, bad exposition is basically when you tell the reader or the showgoer what the main character is thinking about or what's happening in the show. So it's instead of showing those experiences and dialogue. So
Oh, I think it's great. And like I say, early on in the pilot, that's when we first have her first vision about her brother, Pugsley, and we see the kids attacking him and throwing him in the locker, and that's so much better than like him telling her, "Oh, yeah, so this happened," and then we get a flashback of this happening. It's kind of cheesy. Obviously, it's done a lot of times because a lot of times people don't know a better way to show but I think it's creative, and I like how they do that with her, and it gets even more, it gets a lot better as it goes on. Each time she has a vision because it helps her along with solving her mystery. So I thought it was great with them implementing the visions and not them just being like some parlor trick. Like every time she has a vision, it's very essential to the story and to telling us more about the past. And so I thought it was really well done.
okay, for me, I think it's a good way to show what the character needs to know about like uh certain characters, their agendas, what's happening with them. And I do think that without the visions, we wouldn't get that information and I don't think the show would work. So I do think it's more like a convenient way to show us what's happening with the
Yeah.
various characters, which is a shame because I think, um, you know, if they could work it so that you don't need it, I think it would be a stronger show. Um, just because it's kind of like when this idea of like doing flashbacks, sometimes they're not necessary and people just do them because they don't want to do the work to get us, the audience, to see what's happening without in the current moment and show how they got there. If that makes sense. So I think without the visions, the show wouldn't work. And so they needed to do that, but it's a bridge to show us what other characters are going through in really quick sequences, and put those in a vision. So I don't know how the workaround would be, how they could get that information to the audience without the visions. So it's kind of like I understand the need for them, but it's like it also feels like it's bad exposition. Like we're just telling you things. There is a reason for it, but we're just telling you rather than building up the story so that those things just happen to go along with the flow of the story.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's other ways they could have. I mean, even with the beginning with Pugsley, I mean, they could have just showed us that happening to him, and then those kids running off and her showing up late, and so she wouldn't have seen what happened, but she would have seen who might have been involved, and so it would have showed us all that all in the moment instead of it being some flashback or whatnot or vision. So I do agree with you there. There are, and that's just an easy example. There's more complicated ones they would have to solve if they took the visions out, But maybe a better balance, maybe having the visions but not having them so often,
Yeah,
so
that's
they're
true.
not so dependent on it. So I agree with you there. They could have some things just shown us a little better instead of doing a vision, just showing us in the moment, and then but some other things I think maybe not require the vision, but I think it could work if it just isn't overutilized.
Yeah, that's once you start relying on the visions to tell us what Wednesday needs to know, it kind of dilutes the power of those visions. So and I understand they probably did it because like there's so much like she can't read minds, she can't see that's they need to give that information to her somehow. She can't be everywhere all at once kind of thing. So um
It definitely made it a little easier for her solving mystery.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why it felt a little bit overdone. And I'm not trying to criticize the show, because they had to figure out a way to get that information to Wednesday and also to us. And all the choices they made had to be, they had to weigh pros and cons and decide what they're going to do. And so I think the show in itself is brilliant, and it was really well written, well directed, well scored. These are just nitpicky things that I've been thinking about.
I just want to tell the audience that I hope that you guys enjoyed this first episode. I hope that you guys are looking forward to tuning in with us again, because we will be back with many more episodes. Wednesday is a great show. I'm sure we've both watched the season numerous times, for fun and for research purposes. And we still will be continuing to watch as we keep doing more episodes. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any input, any questions about what we've said or anything that we haven't said, that a different perspective or point of view, we would love for you guys to comment, share anything, just interact with us as we will with you.
Yeah, we really want to build our fan base up, and it starts with just getting to know you, and hopefully you get to know us, on a routine basis. Keep asking us questions, commenting, giving us suggestions on how to improve the show, or all those kind of things are very much welcomed. But we want to build our community with you, and I do think that the more that you learn more about us, the more that you'll probably, hopefully at some point want to check out our other channels, so that you can see what we're like as filmmakers. So we appreciate everything that we've been able to accomplish, and we're just getting started. So thank you for coming along with us.
Thank you.